When you call 911 for a violent, unstable family member, you've got to understand that bad things are highly likely to happen. Hi everyone, welcome to today's bonus badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa, and with me, your favorite former Fed, Mike Williver.
Today's video comes to us from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Firearms Legal Protection just started a 100% free monthly newsletter to bring quality, accurate information about legal self-defense to good, sane, sober, moral, prudent people like you. Go sign up for free, no-hassle help for your self-defense at the link in the description and thank them for sponsoring today's lesson. Police officers have been called here because both this man that we're about to see, his mom and his wife, have called because he is threatening them with a gun. This man is known to law enforcement. He has been diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses. He has been violent in the past. Officers are showing up. Let's listen in. We have badge cams as well as cell phone footage.
What's going on? Put the knife down now! Put the knife down now! Put the knife down now! 1806, step it up. Man wants a knife. Put the knife down now! Put the knife down now! Put the knife down now! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Man, back up! Man! Man, back up, man! Man, back up! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! No, 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 no. Put the knife down! Shot fired. Yeah. Stop! Please stop! Back up! Back up! You ready, bro? Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Please! 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 Just back up!
Drop the weapon! Sam 6 Mel has a knife. Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Man, move! Put the knife down! Get him!
Put the knife down!
Shoot him! Move! Move! Move!
Put the knife
This one caused an awful lot of riots in Philadelphia. In fact, officers did hit him with 10 shots. He did pass away from his injuries. We're going to think about some lessons here. Oh, God, just a terrible outcome on this one. Not what anybody wanted of any kind. And let me just take this moment to say, if you've got family members and loved ones who struggle with mental health, please get them the help before the crisis happens. Please, I know we're going to talk in lessons for police officers about what's going on, but for every single viewer, hear me. As somebody who has had direct, immediate family members with significant mental health issues, please be their advocate before this, because when it gets to this situation, it truly is crisis. Our first lesson is for all our viewers here is that, listen, when you call 911, when you call emergency services and you tell them that you have a violent person and you need help, they are going to send people who do violence on behalf of the state. They're gonna send people with guns who can stop that kind of violent person. And I get it. I know some people are gonna say here and say, well, I wish they could do better, or I wish they could do different. But when you call 911, and I say that as a man who has called 911 because I've had a violent person in my home, And I recognize how hard that can be and that sometimes you do need those officers, but recognize that when you do, they are coming with the ability and possibility of doing deadly violence.
The police, I'll say it again, are the last rung on the societal ladder. There's no one to call after the police. The police are your last resort. I don't know exactly what precipitated them calling 911, if he was actively being violent or not, but he didn't leave them a lot of choice. He's coming at them with a knife. I'm not sure what else anyone expected them to do. If he was already well within the 21 feet, so had he decided to take a sprint at them, he would have been able to stab one or more of those officers. That's just the way it is.
For sure. The second thing that I will say here is that if you go read the news stories that I've linked in the description, the parents are actually suing not the officers, but the city of Philadelphia because these officers did not have any less lethal tools on them at all. They weren't trained in less lethal tool use. So no tasers, no OC spray, no batons, no nothing. They had nothing but their firearms on their person or their hands. And that puts them in a very difficult position. And that is, of course, the responsibility not of the officers, but of the city to properly train. Now, so for all my officer viewers, if you're not allowed less lethal tools, I wouldn't work in that kind of environment.
Absolutely not. I've never heard. I didn't know that, by the way, about Philadelphia PD. They had officers with just guns and handcuffs and nothing else. That's unacceptable.
It's like the 1970s all over again. Now, okay, so they come up, and I think the officer does a really good job, or he comes up soft. He comes up, hey man, what's going on today? Let's talk about this. And I know some folks are gonna say, well, why didn't they do any crisis intervention techniques? When a guy's walking you down with a knife, there is no time for crisis intervention techniques. There's time for emergency communication. Because what we see here is probably the single most dangerous suspect. They've been called to the scene because he's violent. I see low emotion. I see non-compliant behavior, and I don't know about his thinking. So when we talk about realistic de-escalation strategies, we want to look at thinking, feeling, and behaving. Thinking, of course, is his thinking clear or contaminated? Is he somehow altered? This guy has a known history of mental illness, so we can probably guess that his thinking is contaminated in the moment. He is low emotion. He's not freaking out or anything like that, and non-compliant. This is probably the most dangerous person that you're gonna come across in law enforcement.
The minute he walked down off the stairs, these officers knew how this was probably going to end, and it wasn't going to end well. And I think this man did commit suicide by cop, but at some point, you ask, well, what else could they have done? Well, they didn't have any less lethal, which is unreal to me. They wouldn't communicate with him. Like you said, you can't communicate with someone who won't make contact with you. He's
right.
Not acknowledging that they're even there other than to come at them with a knife. So I think they knew how this was going to end up. It was going to end poorly, and this guy made the decision to do what he did. I just don't know what else they could have done.
And I do think the officers did a really good job here of backing away, giving him some space, continuing to issue emergency commands, drop the knife, whatever. I will say, do your best if you can think about something to get out of the verbal loop, you know what I mean? To try something else in the moment, very difficult to do in this stress. I do think they maintained their space as well as they could. Now, of course, it gets crazy here with mom showing up. It gets very dangerous. So we start talking about, wait a minute, he is endangering mom, he's endangering the other bystanders. These people are coming up to him, trying to get him to put it down. And I get that they're trying to get this guy so that he doesn't get killed. Here's where the shots break. And actually, Mike, I want to talk about this a second because I think in that moment, they might say, well, he wasn't charging right then, but he did just pick his pace up significantly, and he doesn't have any of these bystanders around him. So probably they chose the best time to put this threat down.
If they just wanted to shoot someone, they could have done it, 10 or 15 seconds ago, the minute he stepped down off the stairs and failed to comply with their commands to drop the knife.
They gave him commands at least 12 times to drop the knife.
Yeah, and he didn't listen. He wasn't going to listen. They knew he wasn't going to listen. And like I said before, at any moment, he could decide to start sprinting, and he would have gotten to one of those officers with that knife before they could do anything with a firearm, since that's all they had.
And so they chose the moment they had. Now, do I wish that one of them had a taser, that they could say, hey, you're lethal, I'm gonna try this, we're gonna give this a go. I don't know that it would have worked. He's wearing a sweater, he's wearing pants, 50-50, but they didn't have that available to him. So you may as well have asked him to fly away so that they would have been safe. It's just not a possibility here. So we see the second officer. Want to see a couple of very interesting things here. I know in the first officer's badge cam that it was just a little bit difficult to see the knife, but as we see him step down and step towards the officer here, what you're going to see is how big a knife that he has on him here. As you can see right there that it's about a 6 or 8 inch kitchen knife. And you actually see at the end of this badge cam, you see the officer kick that knife away when he comes up to him and then end that threat. So again, this guy is walking down an officer. If the officer just wanted to shoot him, this is the place he probably would have done it right here. If he's just like, nah, I got nothing for this guy, I'm just gonna shoot him, I'm callous or whatever, but he gives him, I think, every opportunity.
6 inch or 8 inch knife, will absolutely kill a human being
Dead.
with one application in the right place. You hit somebody in the femoral artery or in the neck with it, and they're going to die.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think if they just wanted to shoot somebody, they had ample opportunity to do it prior to this.
I do think that our officer here, we're watching his badge cam, also did a good job of using the cars in the neighborhood for some spacing. So he's trying to keep a car between him to give him some more time to try to give this guy an opportunity to not end up getting shot here. So he's gonna, back around the car, back away from the car. But at some point now he's got bystanders behind him. He can't back up anymore because he doesn't have any understanding of what other threats there are. And if he backs up, he puts bystanders at risk. And so I really do think, again, thinking about the fact that he's got bystanders behind him, he doesn't have any family members in front of him. This guy's advancing on him with a knife is again non-compliant, low emotion, contaminated thinking. I don't have any other options. I think that this is is it a guaranteed great outcome? No. Is it a reasonable outcome? Yes.
Yeah, it's a bad outcome to be sure, but it doesn't mean it wasn't justifiable. It's entirely justified, and you hate to see it. Family members, please, when police have their guns out, please don't run in and try to do anything like that, because God forbid he started to move at that moment when mom's grabbing onto him. She could have caught around. I mean, it's just a bad situation all the way around.
And of course, I think that the scene gets just completely out of hand here. She beans him with her cell phone, and then he kicks the knife way away, which I think was the right choice to do. And now, I want to just say for a moment, I understand that his mom and his wife are just distraught here in this moment. I understand this is the last thing that they wanted to do. And I actually think that this officer was quite compassionate that he let her throw a phone at him. He let her beat the tar out of him, didn't arrest her, didn't have any problems, because I think he gets it.
Yeah, officers, if you're in this situation and you have people actively assaulting you like that, I understand he's being compassionate, but you've got a crime scene now, and you've got a knife running around loose. Emotions are very high. I hate to say it, but you might want to grab a hold of mom and get her away from this area. Grab a hold of wife, get her away from the area if you can. Try to avoid handcuffing them, obviously, but it's just a bad situation. A lot of these people running around like that. I'm not sure what they could have done about it with that many people, but that really made me uncomfortable.
I mean, it makes me uncomfortable too. It's not safe for the officers, for sure. They're in a very bad spot. This is why they need backup very badly. Now you have somebody, again, you got a crime scene here, and now they're upset. I understand that they're upset. They see this person, they go, gosh, this isn't the outcome that I wanted. And to them, it feels unjust. It feels like, gosh, we should have had a better outcome here. And I know that in the aftermath of this, the city of Philadelphia has said, well, we're going to send crisis response trained officers, we're going to send intervention people and those kinds of things. Quite frankly, an intervention specialist is not going to do anything different here. When a guy comes out like that, sees what's going on, starts advancing with a knife, that intervention specialist is going to step behind the man with the gun.
Find some room in your budget, city of Philadelphia. I think a beanbag shotgun's like $300. Something like that.
Yeah.
And that absolutely could have ended this threat without having to kill this young man.
And equip all your officers with less lethal tools. Amen.
This is bare minimum, yeah.
It's a bad outcome. I think these officers, though, did what they needed to do in the moment. I think they acted reasonably. They tried. They gave this guy every opportunity. And as hurtful as that is to the family, and I think that maybe at the higher levels of, do we equip our officers correctly? Do we support our officers with good training? Do we give them what they need to do their job? I think here that's where the failure is. And so these officers, I think, didn't do anything wrong. And so I think that the answer of was it justified is yes.
With any luck at all, this suit will kick Philadelphia in the rear end to get some better training and some more equipment for these guys.
Amen.